Welcome to the Al Huruf channel. Here, we take children on beautiful journeys filled with exciting, meaningful, and heartwarming stories. Get ready for imagination, adventure, learning, and fun. Subscribe to our channel and enjoy our wonderful stories.
Maryam's Adventure in the Valley of Animals. In a small village between the mountains, there lived a girl named Maryam. Maryam loved animals very much, and she always used to say, "If animals could talk, I would become friends with all of them." One sunny morning, while Maryam was playing near the big fig tree, she heard a faint voice saying, "Help me, please help me." Maryam stopped suddenly and looked to the right and to the left. She found no one. Then she heard the voice again, "I am here, under the leaf." Maryam came closer carefully and saw a small bird trapped between the branches. Its wing was hurting, and its eyes were shining with fear. Maryam said gently, "Do not be afraid, little one. I will help you." She reached out her hand softly, pulled the bird out from between the branches, and wrapped its wing with her blue handkerchief. Suddenly, something amazing happened. The bird looked at her and said, "Thank you, Maryam." Maryam opened her mouth in surprise. You can talk?" The bird laughed and said, "Yes, but not all humans can hear us. Only those who have a kind and brave heart." Before Maryam could ask him anything, a strong wind blew from the direction of the mountain. Leaves fell from the trees, and a huge gray cloud covered the sky. The bird said in a worried voice, "The shadow of the black raven has returned." Maryam asked, "Who is the shadow of the black raven?" The bird said, "He is a huge raven who lives at the top of the mountain. He stole the golden jewel from the Valley of Animals. Since that day, the animals have not been able to find their way to the water. The trees have begun to wither, and the little ones cry at night." Maryam stood up and said, "Then we must bring the jewel back." The bird trembled and said, "The path is dangerous. You will need courage, wisdom, and animal friends." Maryam smiled and said, "Then let us go." The little bird flew, even though his wings still hurt, and circled above Maryam's head. Together, they entered the Valley of Animals, and there, Maryam saw a sight she had never seen before. There was a white rabbit running in circles, a small hedgehog hiding under a rock, and an old turtle looking sadly at the sky. The rabbit said quickly, "Who is this? Who is this? Has she come to help us? Does she know the way to the mountain? Does she have food?" The turtle said calmly, "Slow down, Bark. Let her breathe." Maryam laughed and said, "I am Maryam, and I will try to help you." The hedgehog came closer and said in a shy voice, "But the black raven does not allow anyone to come near his castle." Maryam said, "Every castle has a door, and every door has a key." The turtle raised her head and said, "The key is not made of iron, Maryam. The key is to solve 3 tests on the way." Maryam asked, "What are they?" The turtle said, "The test of the fast river, the test of the dark forest, and the test of the speaking rock." The journey began. Bark the rabbit ran ahead, jumping between the stones and saying, "Follow me! I am the fastest animal in the valley." But after a short while, they reached a wide river with very strong water. The sound of the water was as loud as thunder. The rabbit said, "I can jump." The rabbit jumped, but he almost fell into the water if Maryam had not caught his ear at the very last moment. Maryam said, "Speed alone is not enough, Bark." The turtle came closer slowly and said, "When the river is strong, we need someone who understands the water." Suddenly, a brown beaver came out of the river with big teeth and a wide tail. The beaver said, "I heard what you said. Do you want to cross the river?" Maryam said, "Yes, but the water is too fast." The beaver smiled and said, "I do not fight the water. I build with it." The beaver began to gather large branches. The rabbit helped him carry small branches. The hedgehog helped push the stones, and Maryam tied everything together with ropes made from plants of the valley. After a short time, they built a small bridge. Everyone crossed the river safely. Maryam said, "Today I learned that strength is not in running alone, but in working together." They continued on their way until they reached the dark forest. The trees were very tall, and their branches were so tangled that they blocked the sunlight. The hedgehog whispered, "I do not like the dark." The rabbit said, "And I do not like strange sounds." Suddenly, they heard a voice. "Hoo! Hoo!" The rabbit screamed and jumped behind Maryam, but Maryam raised her head and said, "Who is there?" A large owl appeared with golden eyes. The owl said, "Whoever enters the dark forest must answer my question. What is the thing that grows bigger the more you share it?" The rabbit thought and said, "Carrots?" The owl shook her head. The hedgehog said, "Fear?" The owl said, "Fear grows when we hide it, not when we share it." Maryam looked at her friends. She remembered how she had helped the bird, how the beaver had built the bridge, and how everyone had become stronger together. Maryam said, "The thing that grows bigger the more you share it is kindness." The owl smiled and opened her wings. Then thousands of fireflies lit up between the trees, and the path became clear. The owl said, "Correct answer. Remember, Maryam, wisdom sees the path, but a kind heart opens it." They left the forest and finally reached the foot of the mountain. There stood the speaking rock, as large as a small house, with ancient carvings on its surface. The rock said in a deep voice, "Whoever wants to reach the summit must speak the truth they are afraid of." Everyone became silent. Bark the rabbit said, I am afraid that my friends will discover I am not as brave as I seem." The rock said, "Pass." A small passage opened in the rock. The hedgehog said, "I am afraid that I am too small to help anyone." The rock said, "Pass." Then the rock looked at Maryam. Maryam felt her heart beating quickly. She wanted to say that she was afraid of nothing, but that was not true. She took a deep breath and said, "I am afraid that I will fail, and that the animals will be hurt because of me." Silence filled the place for a moment. Then the rock said, "Whoever admits their fear begins to own their courage. Pass." The path to the top of the mountain opened. Maryam and her friends climbed until they reached a black castle above the clouds. The black raven was standing on a tall tower, and in his beak was the golden jewel. It shone like a small sun. The raven said in a sharp voice, Go back where you came from. This jewel is mine. Maryam said, It is not yours. It belongs to the whole valley. The raven laughed. I took it because I was lonely. When the jewel was in the valley, all the animals gathered around it, and no one invited me to play with them. Maryam looked at the animals. The raven was not as evil as she had thought. He was sad. Maryam said, Taking the jewel made everyone sad, and it did not make you happy. The raven fell silent. The little bird came closer and said, You used to frighten us with your loud voice and your huge shadow. The raven said quietly, I wanted someone to notice me. The turtle said, Whoever wants friends should not steal their light. The raven lowered his head and let the jewel fall into Maryam's hands. Suddenly, the castle began to shake. The stones started to crack, and the wind blew fiercely. The owl shouted from far away, Return the jewel to the valley before sunset! Maryam carried the jewel and ran. The rabbit ran beside her. The hedgehog showed them a safe path between the rocks. The bird flew above them and guided them, and the raven himself used his great wings to push the wind away from them. They reached the valley at the very last moment. Maryam placed the jewel back in its place in the middle of the stone circle. Golden light spread everywhere. The water began to flow again through the streams. The flowers lifted their heads, and the birds sang once more. The animals rejoiced, and the rabbit jumped so high with happiness that he fell onto his back, making everyone laugh. The black raven came closer and said, Can I stay in the valley? I promise I will never steal anything again. The animals looked at one another. Then Maryam said, You may stay, but you must fix what you have done. The raven said, I will guard the jewel, help the little ones learn to fly, and warn everyone when storms are coming. The hedgehog said, And I will be your friend, but do not shout above my head. The raven said, Agreed. In the evening, Maryam returned to her village. She sat beneath the same fig tree, and the little bird was on her shoulder. He said to her, You saved the Valley of Animals. Maryam said, I did not do it alone. Everyone helped with something. The bird said, And that is the greatest courage, to know that you need others and that others can trust you. And from that day on, whenever a gentle wind blew from the direction of the mountain, Maryam could hear the voices of the animals calling her. Our friend Maryam, when will the next adventure begin? And Maryam would say, Very soon, for the world is full of secrets, and only the brave ones find them.
Our Children's Library, a joyful world of learning and discovery. We offer coloring books, activity books, creative playbooks, stories, and exciting adventures in several languages, including French, Spanish, English, and more. To find our books on Amazon, simply search for A.L. Haroof. Thank you, and see you again soon.
I hope you enjoyed the story. Good night and sweet dreams. See you again in a new story with El Haroof English Channel.